For the first 200 days of this conflict, American and Israeli aircraft operated over Iranian territory with something close to freedom. Missiles were fired, air defenses responded, but the skies belonged to the coalition. That picture has now changed, and it changed fast. In recent days, U.S. air assets have been going down at a rate that no official statement from Washington has fully explained. An F-15E Strike Eagle shot down in western Iran. An A-10 Warthog crashed in the Persian Gulf region. An E-3 Sentry airborne radar aircraft destroyed on a Saudi airbase. Black Hawk rescue helicopters fired upon by Iranian tribesmen with hunting rifles. More than 100 drones intercepted or destroyed. This is not a list of isolated incidents. This is a pattern, and patterns have explanations. 2 days before this started, Donald Trump stood before the nation and said, and this is a direct quote, "They have no anti-aircraft equipment. Their radar is 100% annihilated. We are unstoppable as a military force." Within 48 hours, Iran's IRGC was on television, announcing the destruction of an advanced U.S. fighter jet using what they called a newly developed advanced aerospace defense system. And they promised more. Here are the 2 questions this video answers. First, how does a nation with, quote, annihilated radar shoot down multiple advanced U.S. aircraft in a matter of days? Second, what system did Iran build, and how long has it been running? Stay with me because the answer is not a new missile. It is something far more unsettling. For the first 200+ days of this intensified conflict phase, Iran's air defense performance was effective, but not extraordinary. Missiles were launched, some intercepted, some not. The overall picture suggested Iran was absorbing pressure, playing defense, trying to survive. Western analysts called it reactive. They were wrong about what was actually happening. Every time an American aircraft operates in a theater, it creates data. It takes off from a fixed location. It travels a predictable route. It refuels at a predictable interval, often every 90 minutes on a fixed rotation. Its radar emits a specific signature. When it turns at a specific angle. When it climbs at a specific rate. Individually, none of this is a secret. Collectively, tracked over 200 days, it builds a complete behavioral model of how that fleet actually operates. This is what Iran appears to have spent those first 200 days doing, not just fighting, learning. Entry points, departure intervals, refueling windows, communication handshakes, radar ping sequences, navigation corrections. Every data point captured through signals intelligence, radar tracking, and satellite observation, and fed into a system capable of processing behavioral patterns at a speed and scale no human analyst could match. That system is artificial intelligence applied to aerial pattern recognition. In strategic studies, this is called intelligence ripening. The longer a conflict persists, the more data becomes available, and the more that data can be weaponized. Washington anticipated a short, decisive campaign. Days, not weeks. Iran's calculation was entirely different. Iran did not need time to build new weapons. It needed time to understand. Every day of conflict was a day its AI model became more complete. Every aircraft sortie was another data point. Every refueling rotation was another calibration. Around day 20 to 25 of this latest intensified phase, Iran's system reached a threshold. The behavioral model was complete enough. The vulnerability windows were visible enough. The engagement sequence could begin. Here is how it works, step by step. Step 1. Behavioral profiling. Iran's system catalogs the operational habits of its adversaries. Speed, routing, timing, altitude variation, refueling schedules. These are not classified secrets. They are patterns, and patterns repeat. Step 2. Vulnerability mapping. Once a pattern is established, vulnerability windows become visible. The moment a jet transitions to a refueling configuration, it is temporarily less maneuverable. The moment a formation turns on a predictable heading, its defensive sensors face a known direction for a calculable number of seconds. Step 3. Signal disruption and confusion. GPS jamming, false signal injection, electronic interference designed not to destroy the aircraft immediately, but to slow the pilot's reaction, create uncertainty in the cockpit, disrupt the communication loop between the aircraft and ground support. A confused pilot is a slower pilot. A slower pilot is a more predictable pilot. A more predictable pilot is a targetable pilot. Step 4. Strike execution. With the target confused, slowed, and positioned in a predicted location, the surface-to-air missile system engages. Radar locks. The window, measured in seconds, is exploited with precision Iran's passive sensors are also part of this picture. With much of its radar-guided SAM network degraded by US and Israeli strikes, Iran has shifted heavily toward passive infrared detection, systems that detect the heat signature from aircraft engines and airframe friction without emitting radar signals that can be detected and avoided. Passive sensors don't announce themselves. They watch. They wait. And when the behavioral model says the target is in the right position, they hand off to the strike system. This is layered warfare. And it is working. Now here is the image that stopped the world this week. In the rugged mountain region of southwestern Iran, local tribesmen, armed with bolt-action rifles, many of them decades old, opened fire on us Black Hawk helicopters flying low overhead. These helicopters were part of a combat search and rescue mission for the downed F-15E crew. And for a few minutes in a valley in Iran, modern military technology was being challenged by men with hunting rifles. Let's be precise about what those rifles can and cannot do. Black Hawk helicopters are built for combat zones, armored, equipped with countermeasures, and electronically hardened against small arms. Bolt-action hunting rifles are not going to bring one down, but that is not the point. Iranian state media reported the helicopters suffered damage but escaped. The point is that Iran mobilized its population into an active cordon, thousands of civilian eyes searching terrain that U.S. rescue aircraft could not safely land in. That is a force multiplier that no radar system can replicate. According to Iranian-linked outlets, Iranian air defense systems actively targeted the rescue aircraft themselves, Black Hawks, C-130s, F-35s, and MQ-9 drones. The operation to retrieve the downed pilot was described as a dangerous running engagement, not a clean extraction. The second crew member remained missing, and Iran state television was running the story on a loop: the bounty, the wreckage, the rescue attempt under fire. Every frame of it calculated for maximum strategic effect. One American crew member was rescued. The second remains missing, in Iranian terrain, surrounded by an active search operation that Iran controls. If Iran captures that crew member, it is the first American prisoner of war in this conflict. Iran has already signaled it understands the value. An IRGC commander went on television and said, quote, "We will surely achieve complete control of our country's skies, and we will prove to the world more than ever before the humiliation of the wretched enemy." That is not a military briefing. That is a strategic declaration. There is a hardware question that has circulated in defense forums and diplomatic circles, and it deserves honest examination. Speculation has emerged that Russia may have provided Iran with advanced air defense systems, specifically the S-500, a platform so strategically valuable that Russia deploys it in limited numbers for its own territorial defense. Is this confirmed? Is it possible? Yes. And here is why the parallel matters. America operates THAAD missile defense systems in Israel, American hardware deployed in Allied territory. If that framework is accepted on one side of a geopolitical competition, a parallel arrangement on the other, Russian hardware operating under Iranian command or jointly, is not inconceivable. It is also worth noting that advanced hardware and AI-based pattern recognition are not mutually exclusive. Both could be true simultaneously. Russia may have provided a system that Iran then optimized through its own analytical layer, built on 200 days of operational data. Iran is also not striking only fighters. It has targeted the system behind them: airborne warning and control aircraft. The E-3 Sentry destroyed on a Saudi base are the eyes of an air operation. Refueling tankers are its arteries. Radar installations are its nervous system. Iran has reportedly destroyed 10 U.S. radars in a single strike sequence. This is not reactive air defense. This is an integrated campaign designed to blind and disable an entire operational architecture. The bottom line on hardware, whether the system is domestically developed, Russian-assisted, or both, the outcome is the same: a capability to detect, track, and engage aircraft that were previously considered to operate with near impunity over this theater. That capability now exists. It is being demonstrated. And it is growing. Set aside the contested aircraft count for a moment. Look at what is already proven. The Strait of Hormuz, a fifth of the world's oil, is effectively closed. Brent crude is above $109. Oil refineries in Kuwait are on fire. Desalination plants have been struck. Gulf states are absorbing attacks they did not choose to be part of. Iran's goal was never to defeat the U.S. Air Force in a straight fight. It was to make the cost of this war unbearable for everyone within reach of its systems. But there is a larger dimension here that Western media is largely missing. Iran is no longer positioning itself as a state defending against attack. It is positioning itself as a rising power, capable of projecting strategic consequences beyond its borders and into the broader architecture of global competition. The downed jets are one instrument of that claim. The narrative, the demonstration of AI-era military capability, the assertion that American air power is no longer untouchable. That is another instrument. And arguably, it is the more durable one. Every adversary of the United States on Earth is taking notes right now. Because what Iran has demonstrated, if the reports hold, is not just a military capability, it is a methodology, a proof of concept, a template, patient intelligence gathering, AI-assisted behavioral analysis, integrated multi-domain targeting, a regional power operating under sanctions, with a fraction of the U.S. defense budget, building a system capable of credibly threatening advanced American aircraft. That lesson is being absorbed in Moscow, Beijing, and Pyongyang right now. It will shape how the next conflict is fought, wherever that conflict occurs. Iran is playing a 30 to 50-year game. The military engagements of today are designed to establish credibility for the decades ahead. In an emerging multipolar world where dollar dominance is structurally challenged, where American hegemony is increasingly contested, and where demonstrated military credibility translates directly into diplomatic weight. Whether that bet pays off depends on variables no analyst can fully predict. But the confidence with which Iran is operating publicly right now suggests it believes it is winning. And that belief itself is strategically consequential. Here is the core of what has changed. The United States military has spent 3 decades and trillions of dollars building what was understood to be an insurmountable advantage in aerial warfare. Stealth technology, 5th-generation aircraft, advanced electronic warfare systems. The entire doctrine was built on the assumption that American air power could operate in contested environments with acceptable loss rates. That assumption is now being tested. The results, if the reported losses are even partially accurate, suggest the assumption may have been more fragile than advertised. American military doctrine will adapt. It always has. The U.S. has more resources, more institutional depth, and more technological runway than any other military on Earth. The question is not whether adaptation will come. The question is whether it comes quickly enough and whether the broader lessons of this conflict will be absorbed by an institution that has historically been better at fighting the last war than anticipating the next one. Iran has not beaten the United States, but it has demonstrated something that cannot be unseen. What Iran has demonstrated is a methodology, not a bigger bomb, not a faster missile, something harder to counter, information, processed intelligently, and acted upon precisely. Patient data collection, behavioral modeling, electronic disruption, passive detection, coordinated strike at the moment of maximum vulnerability. This is the future of conflict, and it is being written right now in the mountains of western Iran, over the Gulf, and in the silence of a search operation still looking for an American crew member who has not been found. The rules of modern conflict have been rewritten in the last 20 days. The assumption that advanced Western aircraft can operate with effective impunity over contested airspace has been challenged. Perhaps, permanently. Iran did it not with a bigger bomb, not with a more powerful missile, but with something that in retrospect is more powerful than either: information, processed intelligently, and acted upon precisely. That is the story. That is the shift. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because this story doesn't end here. It evolves. And the next development may matter even more than this one.